The beginning, a family bound by marriage. I still remember the day everything changed in my family. My mother, after years of being alone, decided to remarry. She met a man who seemed kind and dependable, someone who could give her the happiness she had been missing. For me, it was a bittersweet moment. On one hand, I wanted her to find joy again, but on the other, it meant my life would no longer be the same. With this new marriage, I gained something unexpected: a stepbrother. He was quiet, reserved, and mature for his age. Unlike most boys, he didn't talk too much, but when he did, his words carried weight. At first, I saw him only as part of the new family arrangement, nothing more. But over time, I began noticing little things. The way he smiled shyly when I joked with him, or how he always seemed to appear when I needed help with something, whether it was carrying heavy boxes or fixing a small problem at home. We lived together under the same roof, sharing meals, celebrating birthdays, and adjusting to this blended family life. Outwardly, everything looked normal. But somewhere deep inside, I felt an invisible thread pulling me toward him, a connection that I couldn't explain. It wasn't love at first sight. It was subtle, growing slowly, hidden behind casual glances and unspoken thoughts. There were small moments I can never forget. Like the time we sat across the dining table, our eyes meeting for a little too long before we both quickly looked away. Or the evening he offered me his jacket when I felt cold, even though we were just steps away from home. These tiny gestures planted seeds of confusion in my mind. He was my stepbrother. I wasn't supposed to feel this way. And yet, I couldn't deny the warmth in my chest whenever he was near. I tried to brush it off, convincing myself it was just familiarity, or maybe just admiration. But the truth was, I thought about him more than I should have. Sometimes at night, lying in bed, I caught myself replaying our conversations, wondering if he felt the same silent pull that I did. Life carried on normally for everyone else, but inside me, a storm was brewing. And then, one evening, fate created a situation that changed everything. The house was unusually quiet. Our parents had gone away for the weekend, leaving just the two of us behind. What started as an ordinary night slowly turned into something that would alter the course of our lives forever. The night that changed everything. That night, the air in the house felt different, still and heavy, as if it was holding its breath along with me. I sat in the living room, scrolling absent-mindedly through my phone when he walked in. His presence was comforting yet unsettling, and suddenly the silence between us felt louder than anything else. He asked if I wanted to watch a movie. I agreed, not because I cared about the film, but because sitting next to him somehow felt inevitable. We sat down, leaving a little space between us, though neither of us seemed comfortable with the distance. The glow of the television cast soft shadows across the room, and every once in a while, I found myself stealing glances at him. Halfway through the movie, he broke the silence. He spoke about how strange life had become since our parents got married. He admitted he sometimes felt out of place, like he didn't fully belong. His honesty surprised me, and for the first time I felt like he was letting me see the vulnerable side he usually kept hidden. I responded with my own feelings. How I too was struggling to adjust. How sometimes I felt lost in this new family dynamic. That conversation changed something. The wall between us began to crumble. We laughed softly at small things, shared secrets we hadn't told anyone else, and with every word, the bond grew stronger. It wasn't about being step-siblings in that moment. It was just two souls connecting. At one point, our hands brushed against each other as we reached for the bowl of popcorn. Neither of us pulled away. My heart pounded so loudly I was afraid he might hear it. The room suddenly felt too small, too quiet, too charged with unspoken tension. I looked at him and he looked back. That gaze held everything we had been hiding, the attraction, the hesitation, the fear, and the longing. I whispered, "This is wrong." But even as the words left my lips, I didn't move. He leaned closer, his eyes searching mine for permission. And in that suspended moment, the world outside ceased to exist. When it finally happened, it wasn't planned, nor was it rushed. It was slow, hesitant, almost fragile, as if we both knew we were stepping into forbidden territory but couldn't stop ourselves. My mind screamed of the consequences, but my heart silenced every thought. Afterward, I sat there in stunned silence, emotions crashing over me. Guilt, excitement, fear, and something that felt dangerously close to love. He didn't say much, but the look in his eyes told me he felt it too. That night, everything changed between us. And deep down, I knew there was no going back. The aftermath, guilt and secrets. The next morning was unlike any other. The sunlight streaming through the curtains felt harsh, as though it was exposing secrets that should never have been revealed. I woke up with a heavy heart, replaying every moment of the night before. What had we done? When I walked into the kitchen, he was already there, pouring himself a cup of coffee. Our eyes met, but neither of us spoke. The air was thick with unspoken words, and the silence screamed louder than any conversation could. I tried to act normal, to hide the storm inside me, but every small glance felt like proof of our shared secret. We avoided each other for most of the day. When our parents returned, everything fell back into its usual rhythm. Family meals, casual chatter, laughter that hid the truth. On the surface, we were just step-siblings again. But deep inside, we both knew nothing would ever be the same. That night, lying in bed, I felt the weight of guilt pressing down on me. I asked myself over and over, why did I let this happen? Was it weakness? Was it desire? Or was it something I had wanted all along but never dared to admit? Every answer terrified me. Days turned into weeks, but the tension never left. He grew distant, as though trying to bury what had happened, but there were moments when our eyes met and lingered too long, betraying us both. Sometimes he would look at me like he wanted to say something, but the words never came. Other times, he avoided me completely, making the silence between us even harder to bear. I couldn't confide in anyone. How could I? Who would ever understand? I carried the burden alone, smiling in front of my mother and pretending everything was fine. But at night, the guilt returned, twisting in my chest, leaving me restless and torn. One evening, when we were left alone again, the tension reached its peak. I found myself in the living room, and he walked in, just like before. For a moment, neither of us spoke until finally he whispered, "We can't keep doing this. It's wrong." His words cut deep, not because I disagreed, but because hearing them aloud made the truth impossible to ignore. Still, even as he said it, the way he looked at me told another story, a story of longing and confusion, just like mine. That night, we didn't repeat the mistake, but the silence between us was louder than ever. And I realized that the hardest part wasn't what we did. It was pretending it never happened. Reflection, the forbidden truth. Time passed, but the memory of that night never left me. It clung to me like a shadow, following me wherever I went. Outwardly, life carried on. We were a family again, sharing meals, attending events, celebrating birthdays. To everyone else, we were ordinary step-siblings. But inside, I was living a double life. Every time I saw him, I was reminded of the moment we crossed the line. Sometimes I caught him staring at me, and in those stolen glances, I saw the same conflict burning in his eyes. We never spoke of it openly, but we didn't need to. The silence between us carried all the words we couldn't say. Eventually, one night, he couldn't hold it in anymore. He found me sitting outside on the porch and sat beside me. After a long silence, he finally said, "I think about that night too, but I know we can't let it define us. It will destroy everything." Hearing him admit it was both painful and comforting. Painful because I knew he was right. Comforting because I wasn't alone in this torment. We sat there, not touching, just staring into the night, both silently mourning something we could never truly have. I often ask myself, was it love or just weakness? Was it fate bringing us closer, or a mistake that we disguised as passion? The answers never come. All I know is that it changed me forever. That night etched itself into my memory, a mixture of sweetness and regret, something I could never share with anyone. With time, we learned to bury it. We carried on as though nothing had happened, protecting our parents, protecting our family, and protecting ourselves from the shame that would follow if the truth ever came out. But deep inside, I know a part of me will always belong to him, no matter how hard I try to deny it. Looking back now, I realize that life sometimes tempts us with choices we should never make. Some doors are better left closed. But when emotions take control, reason becomes powerless. I don't justify what happened. I don't glorify it. But I can't erase it either. One night changed everything. It taught me about desire, about guilt, and about the thin line between love and ruin. I still carry that night with me, both as a memory I cherish and as a mistake I will always regret. And maybe that is the cruelest part of all.